360 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. Imagine the fun you could have in this luxurious home from home worth over £67,000. We'll also give you £5,000 in tax-free cash to make your next getaway a great one. And it could be all yours. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Yeah, it's coming up to 8 p.m. This is Saturday night and you're with the Saturday 5. We are the UK's biggest Saturday night TV show and I'm Alex Armstrong with Will Kingston, Dr. Renee, Peter Barnes and Kai Wilshaw. Tonight on the show.
Even more lunacy with triggered tantrums.
And we will be answering your questions on Ask the Five.
We've got our next big interview with farmer Andrew Ward.
We look at the high five that brings you the stories that lifted the nation.
And true to our word, we will have your weekly Beaver update.
Oh, we love the Beaver update. It's 8 p.m. now, and this is the Saturday 5 Extra. Don't you love our spanking new graphics as well? They look beautiful. This is the Saturday 5 Extra, of course. They're great, aren't they? And, of course, I always want to know what you have to say. I've been collecting your comments for the last 2 hours, and I'll keep them coming, please, because we want more of them. gbnews.com/your say. And don't forget to get your questions in for Ask the 5. That's coming up shortly in the show. No topics are off limits for that part of the show. Let me just read some of your comments here quickly. What have we got here? Andy says, who is going to replace Keir Starmer? Oh, we better ask his biggest fun friend here, Kai. Go on,
yeah. No, that is an interesting question. And look, I mean, we know that Wes Streeting from the right of the party is already on manoeuvres. I mean, he has been for over a decade. Well, he is. Yeah. But then Angela Rayner, you know, is that's the soft left's choice, and actually she's incredibly popular across the country. No, she is. In Scottish Labour conference, they were scared to send Angela Rayner and Keir Starmer because they're so unpopular. The only person who is popular is Angela Rayner.
You didn't dispute the premise of the question. Do you think Keir Starmer will be removed?
Yeah, that's fair.
I assumed that he always saw himself as a one-term Prime Minister, and I sort of hoped that was the case.
I don't think he's going anywhere.
I actually agree with you. But
I think he's not going anywhere.
You know what I think? I think they're going to do a Mark Carney, and they're going to replace him right before the election, and with someone else, probably someone very, very old hand, to calm everyone down, and that's the strategy that works, isn't it? Gordon Brown failed to do that.
Yeah, this is true.
It didn't work. It didn't work.
The one thing I will say is that Starmer...
It didn't work with Kamala Harris.
I mean, do you know, I think Keir Starmer was actually the interim to get rid of Jeremy Corbyn and make sure they didn't get him as the leader. And now they've ended up here, and they're not really sure how they got here.
Yeah, I think they got duped, if I'm being brutally honest. I think Keir Starmer is a much better operator than we ever gave him credit for, because he's taken out all of his rivals. None of them are actually viable candidates now. If you think about it, they've been saddled by failed policies that the public is going to attack them on. Keir Starmer has cemented his position as leader of the Labour Party for at least the next 10 years, realistically. It's absolutely incredible.
He won't survive losing the next election.
No, I'm not being funny. We've yet to see with any evidence that he's going to lose.
I think you've got.
I actually think that the Conservatives and Reform will end up splitting the vote, and Labour will end up winning the next general election.
They won't, because that is a real risk.
No, I don't think they will. I don't think they will, and it will because of Nigel Farage.
Shivers down my spine, honestly. OK, right, well, we're going to move on from that now. And British farmers are being pushed to find new sources of income, like converting their land into campsites. Now, this is in response to the upcoming changes to inheritance tax rules. Of course, this is a Labour policy. The Daily Express revealed this yesterday. Starting next year, farmland and other agricultural assets valued over £1 million will no longer be fully exempt from inheritance tax. Instead, any amount above that threshold will be taxed at 20%, ending a tax exemption that has been in place since 1984. To discuss this, I am pleased to welcome farmer Andrew Ward. Andrew, thank you so much for joining myself on the panel tonight.
Hello, great. Hello, thanks for inviting me.
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. It's a really sad day that we're having to see farmers, obviously, you know, put the campsites on their farms to avoid this. But tell us a little bit about what's going on here.
Well, I think the biggest problem we've got is farming at the moment is in the worst state it has been for years, and I probably mean as long as I've been farming. It's not just the problem of profitability. We've got regulation, we've got red tape. Yes, we've got inheritance tax, but I think the biggest problem we're facing at the moment is the weather, because everything we're doing, we're trying to get harvest will be ready in June or July, August time. And the weather just trumps all these things, and sorry for the pun in that, but the weather just trumps everything regarding inheritance tax, because at the moment, the condition of the farm, the crops came out the winter in really good condition, but we've had so little rain at the moment, the crops are nearly dying on their feet. We've got absolutely rock bottom prices. The prices we've got at the moment are the same as they were 20 years ago. So, you know, when you just take that in, where you sell our crops to make food, we're getting paid the same as 20 years ago, yet the money that we are investing in these crops is at today's prices. So how many people are working for the same return as they were 20 years ago? So this is the problem we've got. And when you start to look at the inheritance tax, campsites, as you say, the problem we've got is that, yes, we need to do other things. We need to diversify to get extra income. But the minute we start to make our farm more valuable, we pay even more inheritance tax. So it's just a crazy situation to be in.
Yeah, you know, Andrew, before I bring the panel in, because everyone wants to ask a question here, you know, how much of an impact is this really going to have, and how many farmers have you spoken to that have obviously, you know, are going to fall under this inheritance tax change? Because obviously Labour's argument is that only a small percentage of farmers are really going to be impacted. Is that true in your experience?
It's absolute rubbish in my experience. And you go out there in the countryside and you ask farmers who are in the know, obviously, and they're out there working, and the families have been farming generations on many areas all over the country. And it's absolutely ludicrous to say that the government say there's only a minority are going to be affected. When you start to look at the surveys that have been done and the research that have been done, there's somewhere between 70 and 80% our farms are going to be affected. But we also just need to mention it's not just farmers here that's going to be impacted on these government changes. Yeah. It's all businesses that are trying to hand things down to the next generation. So we're saying that there's no business should pay inheritance tax, not just farmers, nobody, because we've all paid our taxes over the years. When we make a profit, when we do certain things to the farm, we've all paid taxes. That it's just not right that any business, not just farming, pays inheritance tax or has to pay inheritance tax when it's handed down to the next generation.
Okay. Yeah, hi. I think I agree with everything you say, and my heart goes out to farmers. Everybody knows this. As a doctor, I really try and encourage people all of the time to eat well, but we don't seem to have that same understanding in society of how critical our farmers are for our future food security. How do we get that message through and start mobilising everyday people to back the farmers and say, well, hang on a minute, we want our food produced here and we'll do whatever we can to support the farmers?
It's a really interesting and a great comment or question. And I think the problem we've got, though, is at the moment that food has been too cheap for too long. That's the biggest thing. We've had subsidies in the past that hasn't just benefited farmers, such as myself, it's benefited everybody in the country because the subsidies have kept us going, they've kept food prices low, so everybody out in the high street and high street and your public are used to paying cheap or used to paying not a lot of money for food. So food is cheap. And I think at the moment, the UK food, we are the third cheapest food in the world behind America and Singapore. Well, that, in my view, is
Andrew,
not
just
a tag to be proud of.
Very briefly on that, because, you know, our audience will suggest that, you know, that they feel food prices have gone up dramatically. Are you saying that if the government were to get rid of this subsidy, we'd have even higher food prices? Because I think maybe it's cheap on the bulk buy for the supermarkets, but it doesn't feel cheap to consumers at home.
No, you're quite right, it's not. But you just say if the government are to get rid of the subsidies, the government have got rid of the subsidies.
Sorry, apologies,
this next year is the last year where you're getting, they're dropping and dropping. And the Labour government at the moment are saying that they are giving the biggest budget to agriculture that's in history as £5 billion over 2 years. That's not really right, because it's been 2.4 billion a year since 2014. What we're not saying, or what we're not hearing, is that they are actually cutting our D-link payments, which is the payment that is in relation to the subsidies that we have been getting. They've cut that last year's payment by 76%. So if you add that into the budget of 5 billion, they're actually giving less than any government has done. But going back to the price of food, it's just not right. When you see the price of food, the public are paying more for the price of food, yes. We are receiving less for the crops we grow. Somewhere in that equation, there is something seriously wrong. And the whole food system in this country has broken. And it's the supermarkets are taking big profits. That needs to come further down the food chain to us, because we're looking after the environment, we're looking after nature, wildlife, everything is on our hands.
Yeah, I think the work the farmers do is radically underappreciated, and I think the one thing that's not being talked about is actually the effect that this is actually having on farmers themselves. You know, the mental health of farmers was up in front of a select committee quite a little while ago. I think it was raised by Neil Parish, if I remember correctly. And, you know, it's just not taken seriously, despite the fact that, you know, it's in the blood of these families. You know, it's part of what you do. You sacrifice so much for the country, and yet this government just turned around and basically just smacks you in the face. I think it's absolutely disgraceful. But how are farmers kind of bonding together over this? Is there a real network being developed here?
Well, there is. And just before I touch on to that, you are quite right. You know, the stresses and strains of farming and producing food and actually working and trying to make a profit is just huge at the minute. And I think farming has the highest suicide rate of any industry. And we've got the issue at the minute now where we've got elderly farmers and farmers who aren't very well, who won't make the 7-year gifting rule, are now saying that they think they don't want to be here come April 26 because that's going to put a burden on their family. So they are sort of considering suicide, they're considering ending their lives because they don't want to burden their family with an inheritance tax bill that the family can't afford to pay. So, you know, so that is a huge issue. The mental strains and stress in agriculture at the moment are absolutely massive.
Yeah, I mean, you've talked about how farming is so tough just because of all these external pressures. You know, you talked about the weather, you talked about the impact of supermarkets squeezing margins. Now, I think the last time we saw such a radical secular shift in land use was in the post-war period, when lots of landed gentry and big estates had to find new uses for their land. But actually, that had lots of benefits. It had huge increases in accessibility for the public across the countryside. We had things like Alton Towers, Longleat. Shouldn't we be supporting farmers in actually diversifying and making sure that their businesses are fit for the future?
Absolutely, we should, because at the moment, our food security, our self-security, the amount of food we produce in the country, we're sitting at around about 62%, whereas in the 80s, it was around 80%. So we are dropping all the time. But the problem we've got is that a lot of the food that's produced outside this country is produced and grown to far lower welfare standards than we produce here. Now, I'm going to mention one crop here and one food that we eat that everybody says we shouldn't eat, and that's sugar. I grow sugar beet, and on the shelf, that is put in a packet, and it's silver spoon sugar. Now, next to that packet, you'll see Tate and Lyle sugar. Now, Tate and Lyle, quite a lot of that comes from Australia, South America, and that is grown from sugar cane. Now, sugar cane and Tate and Lyle sugar is grown with 23 chemicals that I am not allowed to use in growing sugar beet. Yet those two products will sit on a shelf next to each other. The Tate and Lyle product is allowed to carry a Union Jack simply because it's put in a packet in this country. Now, that's not unique to sugar. So many products and food things are allowed to have a Union Jack on the packet because it's packed in this country, not grown or produced in this country. And this is where we need some fundamental changes to the way our food is produced and marketed and sold.
So it's obviously a very difficult time for British farmers at the moment. Andrew, what can GB News viewers and listeners do to help them out?
Well, it's great, thank you. And I always enjoy coming on here, and I've got some good friends at GB News. I'm on here quite a lot. And you mentioned a few minutes ago about what are we doing. Well, I'm part of a small group of farmers. We started having a protest. The first one was on November the 19th last year, and we had around 50,000 people in London. We're seeing on the screen now some of these protests. And that was the first one we had, and we've organised other ones around the country. And the last one we had was on Pancake Day on March the 4th. And that was purely, we had that one because we wanted to highlight to the public and to the government the amount of capital investment needed to simply put food on plates. And being Pancake Day, we thought, what better way to show the machinery, having paraded in London, on what makes the ingredients to make a pancake. We didn't want hundreds of tractors that's been in London. We simply wanted to highlight the value of machinery. We had 8 pieces of machinery in London. Only one of those was a tractor. We had harvesters, we had planting machines, we had a sprayer. Those 8 machines came to £3.2 million. Wow. And you needed all those machines to make a pancake. Now, the public will say, oh, well, all those machinery, if you can afford to buy that machinery, you can afford to pay inheritance tax. Most farmers do not buy that machinery. It's paid for monthly, the same as everybody else would when you're buying a sofa, whether you're buying a TV or a car or a house on a mortgage. We can't afford to buy that machinery. We'll take it on a monthly payment, and then after 4 years, it goes back, and we start another cycle of paying for these things monthly, because a lot of these machines, sugar beet harvester, combine harvester, you're looking at £600,000 to £700,000.
Incredible. It really is, Andrew. And look, we want to thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about this. This is an ever-developing story, and good luck with your campaign. Andrew Ward, farmer there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Coming up next, it's Ask the Five. We never know what you've got in store for us, because we genuinely do not know. Honestly, we don't know. So we're looking forward to seeing you all, and I'll read some of your comments out after the break.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast every day from 6 a.m.
amazing. I'm so pleased for him, and I think everybody in Northern Ireland. He did defeat an Englishman in the playoff.
He did.
Which is
Justin Rose.
Yeah.
See, Justin Rose, not many people are going to talk about Justin Rose, well, apart from us.
Yes.
But Justin Rose, it talk about, you know, the bridesmaid and the bride, and it's been that with Rory. He's been the runner-up in the Masters twice. And 44 years old, and to do what he did and get a round of 66 was incredible. But Rory, see, people have written Rory off, and I've got to admit, even a couple of years ago, and I'm thinking, this is not going to happen for Rory, because it's this ultimate Grand Slam. Now, I think in golf, the Grand Slam is probably harder to win than any other sport, tennis, anything else. Because if you just look at the list, so this is basically to win the PGA, the American PGA, the US Open, the Open here, and the Masters. So this is to win the big four throughout your career. And only Gene Sarazen in 35, Ben Hogan in 1953, Gary Player in 1965, the legendary Jack Nicklaus in 66, and Tiger Woods in 2000. They're the only people to have done it. And if you think of all the great golfers over the years, nobody, apart from them, have managed it. And now Rory's managed it, and that makes him the greatest European golfer there has ever been.
Well, there's emotion you see there. I mean, you see what he so wants. I mean,
absolutely. I mean, he broke down in tears at the end, and it's not surprising because this is the thing. And it's 2011 was the last time he won a major. So at the time when he was much younger, they were coming left, right, and centre, and you're thinking this kid's going to do everything. And then he was winning tournaments, but not those majors. And it was the Masters. That was the one he wanted. Well, give him a bus tour. You know, get the open top bus out. Get him around, and
he will.
He'll deserve it. I mean, absolute hero.
GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Saturday 5 Extra. Let's crack on with your questions. We love this part of the show because you get to control it. Once again, we listen to all of your views. I've got tons of your questions and some big ones. I've just put this in your say. You'll see it in a second. But we are going to talk about those comments made by Lucy Powell shortly. But first, let's see our first question.
Hello, Lee from Bedford. I'd like to ask the panel, since Reform's success in the local elections, do they all feel that people feel a little bit more optimistic in the country? Because I certainly do.
Oh, that's really interesting. That's a good question. I feel like there has definitely been a bit of an earthquake, not a magnitude, not a massive magnitude one, not a tsunami level, but I believe this is the start of the establishment parties taking reform seriously. And I do think there's a lot of optimism, at least where elections were allowed in those areas, that things might change. What do you think, Renee?
Yeah, do you know what I think's interesting about this is I think there were a lot of people who didn't vote for reform in the general election because they thought, oh, do you know what, I'm going to waste my vote. Yeah. What this has done for them is to say, do you know what, your vote's not wasted. This is a growing thing. This is a roller coaster that no one's going to stop.
Pete, vote Tory, get Labour?
Vote Reform, get nothing. I mean, let's be real about it. What were they actually elected on? The council seats that they've now run have huge problems. You've got Derbyshire has a £45 million deficit. You've got SEN education problems in Kent, and yet Reform, no policies. These are real issues that affect these. And now all this. No, don't get me wrong. That's fine. I will accept that all parties have been terrible on local government for years. It has been the dumpster fire of everybody's making. However, we have to be real now that Reform have to deliver on something. They're now going to have to record of defence, not just attack. And I think they're going to really struggle because it's easy to build a kind of band of warriors against something. I don't think they can't all agree on how they're going to fix anything. That's the big problem.
But Peter, the problem is actually, we were saying for months, oh, they've got all this enthusiasm, but can they translate it to having good ground game and having good election? Now, they did that.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Look at the turnout. The turnout is the reason.
It is reality denial to one side.
I'm not taking away this an incredibly good result, but this idea that it's this earthquake, I'm sorry, the hyperbole is out of control. The level of expectation management is non-existent, and Reform are going to feel the backlash of it because they've promised the world and will deliver very little.
But you'll be pretty sad, I think, as the Conservative Party if they buck the trend, do well, govern well, and you guys are out of power for the next few decades.
We might be out of power. I don't think the Bell Party is going to exist.
Claire from Yorsay, Claire, thank you for writing. Claire from Yorsay says, poor Peter has a severe case of Farage derangement syndrome. Yesterday must have hit him hard.
Not really. No, I proved me 100% correct. Proved me 100% correct.
The fascinating thing about this show tonight is it is demonstrative of the problem the Conservatives have more generally. He's being attacked from the left, he's being attacked from the right, and he's stuck in the middle and he's not quite sure what to do.
A little like Nigel, Conservative problem in a little like Nigel Farage being attacked from the right of his party and attacked from the further right of his party, having no policies and a schism.
I think people are crying out for a leader.
Yes, I agree with you.
See a leader in Farage. That's what.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be very, very disappointed when he's actually had to deliver something.
OK, right. Our next question is from Craig.
Hi, it's Craig here. My question for the five, slightly different to normal, is this is a lovely weekend with the sun out. What would you have on your barbecue?
Great. What would you have on your
barbecue?
This has to be a question for Will.
Yeah,
the resident Aussie.
Snags.
What is a snag?
Snags. Sausages.
Sausages. We don't have that kind of thing.
Snags and lamb. Lamb.
Yeah.
Onions.
You know what?
Lamb.
Can I agree? Oh, this is brilliant. As a Welshman, to hear you both extolling the virtues of lamb, I totally agree.
Can we also say, please, Welsh lamb by British, not New Zealand? And do you know what? I've already had a text about that farmer that was on to say that the person who sent me the text, they will only buy a silver spoon sugar now.
Love to hear that.
Everybody should just buy British and think carefully.
Definitely. What would you have in your barbecue?
Oh, I sausages, burgers. Okay, I like a nice mixed grilled kebab. I love a barbecue. I genuinely do.
Do you like your barbecue? Do you like your stuff in your barbecue extra crispy, extra charred?
Yeah, it's definitely got to have that.
You got extra charred.
It's bad for you.
No, I don't.
Everything is bad for you.
When he tells me things that are going to kill me every week, come on to the show, severe anxiety.
Whilst having a glass of wine in front of her.
Mum tells me not to have anything. Actually, there we go. But I'm sure she's watching. Hello, Mum. Our next question is from Harry. Oh, here we go. Should we stop... I didn't know he was on video here. Should we stop legal aid to immigrants fighting deportation?
Yes.
This is very interesting, actually.
Interesting, but it'll be a quick conversation, Harry. Yes.
Yes.
Well, this is slightly nuanced because... In this country, we have a right to legal representation. So I'll tell you what my angle of this. I do agree with the sentiment of Will and Renee. However, where does it end? If you start taking away legal rights from people, where does it end? I just don't think they should be here in the first place.
Reform really is moving to the centre, aren't they?
Once we change the law, listen. Once we change the law and we say if you come here illegally, you will be deported, and we leave the ECHR, it won't matter if we give them legal aid, right? This is the right question to ask.
Do you know where it ends? It's where does it start? So if you're not a British citizen, you don't get legal aid. End.
Well, there you go. Peter, what do you think?
I think the bigger question is how many rights of appeal should you get? This is half of the problem. Is they seem to be appeal after appeal after appeal, and that's the one that really staggers me. You get some people they've gone through 7 trials of this stuff. I think there should be a limit on it.
And they've changed the sexuality by the end of it.
Yes, that is a big one. And let's not forget that Shabnam Mahmood, the Justice Secretary, was on about increasing legal aid to asylum seekers, which I think is absolutely staggering. Given the state of the economy.
High, though.
I think the test of the character of a country is whether it sticks to its principles and its values, whether the times are tough or better. And I think actually the comparison I'd make is with Shamima Begum. To take her citizenship away.
No, I agree with you.
Was completely disgusting. We should try her in English courts. She should be put to jail for life.
I agree with you.
If we have these principles and values, we can't tell other countries. We can't moralise to other people. She's a British citizen.
Right. She was a British
similarly
citizen.
Here, legal aid.
These people are not. No, they're not British citizens.
All right. Well, listen, I want to move on because there's a lot more to talk about, but I want to bring you that developing story on Labour Cabinet Minister Lucy Powell, who is under pressure to resign after she dismissed discussions on the Grooming Gang documentary. She called it blowing a little trumpet and using a dog whistle.
Disgusting.
Right?
Absolutely
This has
foul.
prompted a severe backlash from victims and politicians across party lines, by the way. Although she's later clarified that she was criticising political point scoring rather than the issue itself. Her remarks were widely condemned as a betrayal of victims and led to calls for her to resign. I think this is absolutely despicable. And unfortunately, it speaks to Labour's record thus far on this topic, doesn't it? The U-turn after U-turn on the grooming gang scandal, on the rape gangs inquiries across the country. They've had to U-turn the same day they U-turned on it, saying they weren't going to do them. It was so embarrassing for them. They rolled out Jess Phillips hours before Parliament was going to go to recess. I think this is another sign that Labour are not the party that's ever going to get the correct justice for those victims. What do you think, Renee?
I think you've said it all. Look, I'm not into cancelling people. I don't think that's where we should be. But I think what she has done is she has shown Labour to the world. We don't want to talk about this topic. We don't want to protect these victims of gang rape because we don't want to upset these cultural issues that support our party in so many areas. And I think her comments just demonstrate that. We know what they are. We see you.
Yeah. Kai, this is your party. This is Lucy Powell. She's one of your ministers. She's one of the top brass of the Labour Party. Do you think she needs to resign as a result of this?
I agree with Dr. Renee that actually I think we need to move away from constantly calling for ministers to resign when they make mistakes. And I think she should definitely own up to it because it's a pretty abhorrent thing to say. But I think what she probably meant was there is a sense that many politicians of all stripes have been using this topic in a way that really demeans the importance of the issue, but they've been using it as a political football. And I imagine that she was just showing frustration at that rather than
I just want to repeat this, and I'll come to Peter. I want to repeat this just so I get this right. An MP asked Powell if she had seen the recent Channel 4 documentary on rape gangs, and Powell replied, "Oh, we want to blow that little trumpet now, do we? Let's get that dog whistle out, shall we? Yeah." Peter.
That makes it sound worse, by the way. It sounds from this point forward, I'm calling her Lucy Fowl because I think it is absolutely appalling. I think she should resign. We have to start holding our politicians accountable for the words that come out of their mouth. And on this issue, the Labour Party have let down hundreds of thousands of victims. Jess Phillips got up there and turned her back. She ruined her reputation. The Labour Party will be punished for this, for generations of votes, because they have turned their backs. The Labour Party was designed to support those people, and that is the betrayal. When you look at the Runcorn election, one of the big things that they always talked about on the doorstep was the betrayal, and that's what this is the real story of the rape gangs thing on the Labour Party. They will pay a heavy price for this.
OK, we have reached out to Labour for comment on this, but we haven't heard back yet. However, we can read you Lucy Powell's statement on X. In the heat of a discussion on AQ, I would like to clarify that I regard issues of child exploitation and grooming with the utmost seriousness. I'm sorry if this was unclear. I was challenging the political point scoring around it, not the issue itself. As a constituency MP, I've dealt with horrendous cases. This government is acting to get the truth and deliver justice. OK, still to come tonight.
Mr. President, it's been an honor to be part of it for the past 100 days. Your leadership with respect, with strength.
Yeah, all's going to get revealed in those triggered tantrums. You're not going to want to miss it. This is Saturday 5 Live on GB News.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News travel destinations forecast.
If you're heading south for some holiday sunshine, the best bet is Greece at the moment, sunny spells. Also fine in Italy, but Iberia continues on the same theme that we've seen during the last few months. Low pressure, spells of rain and showers, especially for parts of Portugal, northwest Spain, and into the south of France, some heavy downpours, those reaching northern Italy. But for the rest of Italy, cloudy spells, but otherwise largely dry. Mostly fine in Greece, and it continues that way next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. High pressure in charge, turning quite chilly tonight. The winds are switching direction to a northerly airstream, so filtering cold air all the way down from the Arctic across the country. You can see that in the pressure pattern, but with high pressure largely nearby, many places will be dry, and it's a dry evening and night to come across much of the country, though that northerly breeze does bring showers across northeast Scotland, down the eastern coast of England through the night. Elsewhere, dry with clear spells, and it will turn quite chilly, a much widely chilly night compared to of late. Temperatures in single figures, a touch of frost for the glens of Scotland, perhaps the countryside of Northern Ireland as well. But a sunny start here away from the east coast, whilst it will be quite chilly and cloudy here with showers. So if we take a look at the details first thing Sunday morning, frequent showers across Orkney and Shetland down into eastern Scotland. Showers falling as snow over the higher ground. Sunny for western Scotland, largely dry with sunny spells for Northern Ireland, Northern England too, but the east seeing those showers which continue to feed down towards East Anglia. But the vast majority of us, it will be a dry start with sunny spells, so rather fresh. And then through the day, showers continue down the eastern side of the UK, but they will become fewer and further between as we move through into the afternoon. But a chilly northerly breeze here, temperatures really struggling 8 to 9 Celsius at best in one or two spots. Best of the sunshine in the west and southwest, where highs will reach around 17 degrees, so much lower compared to what we've seen of late. Another chilly start on Monday morning, some patchy frost in places. Showers a little bit more confined to the southeast through the afternoon on Bank Holiday Monday. Most places dry with sunny spells, best of the sunshine across Scotland, and temperatures again near average. But there are signs it does start to warm up later next week. See you again soon.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah,
and now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back to Saturday 5. My panel don't know what they're doing. They do this show every week and they still don't know.
It's the lack of leadership, I think, that we're struggling with.
I got a landslide election for this seat.
We were.
It was a low turnout.
I will break the fourth wall. We were reminiscing about what a joy it was last week in our show, and they were pleasant memories. So we were just reflecting on that.
Pleasant memories indeed. Okay. It's now time for High Five, where we discuss our favourite moments from the past week. Will, would you like to kick us off?
I will, and I was really, really proud of this. We have a Saturday 5 alumni is now an elected representative. A big congratulations to the wonderful Darren Grimes, who is now a councillor in County Durham. As I reflect on this, I would say that Darren is everything that a modern politician should be, but they usually aren't. He, as all of the viewers will know, he is charismatic, he is empathetic, he is highly intelligent, he is principled, and he will be a wonderful, wonderful councillor. So, Darren, congratulations, mate. This is a really, really tremendous achievement, and you will be a wonderful leader in your community.
I'm so happy for Darren. He threw everything into this campaign.
Yep.
And I want to clarify, before there's any more speculation, I will not be going after that seat. Okay?
I want to say that Darren You didn't answer my text yesterday, congratulating you, so I'll do it here, but...
I have heard that Darren
I'm
also...
sure he's a very busy man now. He's an elected councillor. You never know, he could be in the executive.
Yeah, he wasn't busy enough, though, to answer my text.
Oh, there you go. He's got his favourites. He's got his favourites. OK, Renee, what have you got for us?
OK, so I had to do this. I'm sorry, Kai, you're going to hate it. But I walked around this week on a high when the FA, the netball and the cricket decided that men could no longer play against women. And honestly, it was, for me, one of the best things I had heard. So I'm going to say, what more could you want from your week as a woman?
Yep.
Absolutely. Here. What do you think of that, Kai? Do his face quick. Yeah. You should have seen it. It was like that.
It would be funny if he snapped the pen.
It makes me sad. It's not a high five for me. I think we should stick to, things that are more universal, really.
What do you think the young girl who was autistic feels, who asked the man with a beard whether he was a man and got suspended by the FA for 6 weeks? What do you think she feels? Do you think the FA will be apologising to her?
I highly doubt it.
I'm more worried about the rise in suicides and mental health issues that we can expect.
I'm worried about the 4-year-old toddler.
Sorry, I can't let that go because that is actually a lie. There is no increase. Right, I'm going to give you the stats because I know them very well. Trans people do not commit suicide more than people with mental health issues. People with mental health issues do commit suicide more than people who don't. You are wrong.
I think that's a really important point to raise because it shows the dishonesty from the trans side of the pro-trans side of this argument.
Does.
You've got to come with the facts. You've got to come with honesty. And I'm sorry, repeating lines like that just doesn't help the situation at all.
But it is called high five.
Very quickly. That's a big moment of the week. And so I am going to take... Because, look, VE Day is coming up rapidly. One of my favourite moments of the year. And the taxi charity that is obviously taking veterans from the UK across multiple different commemorative events in Europe has received £15,000 from the Army Benevolent Fund. I met those guys here in the studio just a few days ago, and I met, I don't want to butcher his name, I believe it's John King, a 100-year-old veteran who signed up. He wasn't conscripted, he signed up to fight for our country. And what an incredible group of people they are. So I'm so pleased. Thank you, John, and thank you to every veteran out there, and I hope you have a fantastic VE Day.
That's the very best of Britain.
It is the best of British.
It really is the very best of Britain, that charity and that movement. Seeing the taxi drive, the cabbies take veterans to services, it is truly heartwarming.
I think that we're losing them. There's not many.
We are sadly losing them very quickly. But Peter,
so unfortunately, I picked a kind of one that's kind of a happy story for me because it doesn't make me feel as bad about myself. Because I have this thing where I lose my phone. I've lost it whilst being in this studio. I don't know how I managed to do it, but it's incredible. And unfortunately, there was a 27-year-old man in China who had to be rescued after climbing Mount Fuji twice after forgetting and losing his phone. This man suffered from altitude sickness and then had to be rescued. He did it twice. And I mean, I'm bad, but I don't think I'll ever be that bad. So I know you shouldn't take joy out of other people's misery, but it did make me feel a lot better about myself.
You climbed up Fuji.
I tell you, I lost my phone in the weirdest way ever. My student accommodation. Accommodation. I'll go back over 10 years ago now. Jesus Christ. But basically, there's this I had a sash window, a small little gap in it, and I was doing my bed, and I left my phone on the bed, and I flung it. I was doing making my bed in the morning.
Students don't make their bed.
Flew out this weird well in the garden, and it went into the well. Of all the places it could have landed, it went into the well. I know it was a £500 phone, but it was a lot for a student.
What you guys probably don't have is when women wear jeans and they put their phone in their back pocket. They
you don't have pockets.
They go to the toilet. They put in their jeans and they drop it in the toilet.
Well, that's not a problem I want to know.
To be fair, I have done that once as well.
We've got the big news of the week. Of course.
I won't tell you how many phones I've lost and the circumstances of losing, but I bring you today a beaver fart. A beaver was caught breaking wind at a wildlife centre in Cornwall. We've got a video. Let's take a look.
That's exceptional television.
This is not the best Saturday Night TV you will ever...
Unbelievable television.
television. I love the build-up. Whoever in the gallery or whoever in the studio, clip that up. Thank you, because you really left the anticipation in there right to the last second.
Can't get too much Beaver.
Yeah, no, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do a high five.
I have to tell you, that is every week we love the Beaver stories.
We do, and we were talking about this earlier. There's actually always multiple stories to choose from. So there was one about a beaver bathing on a beach in Belgium, which you say that 5 times.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Alliterative beaver stories. I like that a lot.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at some of your comments very, very quickly. Lots of them saying, fantastic, well done, Darren. I couldn't agree more. I mean, what a brilliant moment to celebrate for Darren. And I know that will get the lefties really agitated.
But also,
brilliant news.
Alex, sensible lefties will also appreciate that it takes a lot of gumption and grit to put yourself out there and run to be an elected official. And actually, I think a councillor is one of the almost the worst one, because you're dealing every day for very little pay, very little recognition, with really tough issues that affect people in their day-to-day lives, rather than the big picture stuff.
I think to put yourself forward...
They do get a sort of a stipend, I think.
To put yourself forward in today's climate as a politician, to want to be a politician is an incredible thing. And I do think the politicians don't get enough credit. There are a lot of amazing people on all sides of the aisle who really are passionate about issues and want to help people. Unfortunately, we seem to be led by the worst, but there are really good people, and we should highlight that more. And I do think we don't do very well.
I've got to tease this, so still to come tonight. Have a look at this.
A little play with words. It was a little joke because of the irony. Do you not understand irony?
The only reason I'm asking is because...
All right, the rest of this week's Triggered Tantrums after the break.
We have a royal invitation for you this Bank Holiday Monday.
It's VE Day. We're going to be here at Buckingham Palace from dawn till dusk, and at street parties all across the country.
Join us for the pomp, the pageantry, the marches and the dramatic fly past.
A day when we can all feel proud to be British. VE Day all day Monday and throughout next week. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience, because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Dubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your-say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back to the Saturday 5 Extra. We've just been re-enjoying that Beaver video. It was just absolutely brilliant television, isn't it? We've had a comment here. Let me just bring it up. It is from, if I can find it, here we go. Lynn, wonderful show this evening, guys. Thank you, Lynn. The farting Beaver is hilarious. Can you ask the rest of the team, have they ever heard of a series of books about Brenda's Beaver? I haven't, but do you know what? You've challenged us.
Is it
and we do love a Beaver challenge. I doubt it is. I doubt it is. Alice is Renee's young daughter. We'll have a read and we'll get back to you next week. How about that?
Maybe that's our homework.
Tune in this time next week.
That's our homework for some bedtime reading.
Yeah.
How do you follow that? Yeah, so obviously, like, I will have a pop at reform, and my point is always to elevate, to make sure this is right. But the BBC, Sky News, Channel 4 lost their minds on Thursday, and it was embarrassing. Particularly over Dame Andrea Jenkins' rather astonishing victory. She won 42% of the vote to become the mayor of Lincolnshire. This was an amazing win, and I tell you now, the way that the mainstream or legacy media reacted was an embarrassment. Let's have a look.
You made a comment about her South African accent. What did you mean by that?
What I meant is, how can they say I've been parachuted in when I spent most of my life in Lincolnshire, school?
Why mention the accent, sorry?
Because the irony of saying someone's been parachuted in who's not even from the country.
So someone who's got an accent can't be from this county?
I think, actually, I'm not even going to answer any more of your questions. I think that your questioning is quite divisive. You're looking into things when it was a little play with words, it was a little joke because of the irony. Do you not understand irony?
The only reason I'm asking is because...
This is a nice little twist on the triggered tantrum format, because this is a tantrum which has been triggered, which was entirely legitimate on her behalf.
And Andrea has been a panellist on this show before, so it's another victory. Wow. We've had two people. One of them used to host this show. The other one used to be a panellist on this show. That's a double Saturday 5. I think the odds of one of us here being Prime Minister is pretty high, right? There we go.
But it is brilliant, isn't it, seeing the legacy media just have meltdown over things that they never thought would happen. The two-party system being broken.
And can I show you guys that BBC tweet that went out yesterday?
Unbelievable.
This was an absolute disgrace, in my opinion. They have now deleted this tweet. But I can't read the small print here, by the way, but I'm sure you can all read it at home. But basically, it goes along like this, is they took Andrea's background working at Greggs and just decided to use that as their tweet about how winning and Miss UK finals, about her tweet of how she's become mayor. Let's just contrast that when Angela Rayner became Deputy Prime Minister and they were praising
Rachel Reeves.
And Rachel Reeves. It's always, it's great. They love it when they talk about women getting into positions of power, but when it's not the women they want, well, you see them change twice quickly, don't you?
There's that, and there's also the fact I can just imagine the snide BBC digital media team having a laugh about this, assuming that working at Greggs is somehow a bad thing and somehow beneath.
And that's the point. It shows the most prevalent level of bigotry, and it's the bigotry of low expectations. They don't respect Andrea Jenkins, at all. And that is very clear now, that there is that clear divide between, these little people can't do anything without our help. And that is really damaging and a very dangerous bit for our society.
But it's also a clear misunderstanding of the majority of people in this country who don't have their luxury lifestyle sitting in their studios. People that work at Greggs happily to bring home the money to feed their families.
Okay, right. Kai, you've got a tantrum for us as well. What is it?
Don't have a tantrum.
He's already had one.
I can have a tantrum if you like. Look, we can't look into the cabinet meetings of the real and would-be dictators across the world like Kim Jong-un or Vladimir Putin, but luckily this footage has emerged from the most recent Trump cabinet, and let's be real, I think we can all agree this is pretty tragic for a beacon of democracy. Let's take a quick look.
actually doing the things that he promised that he would do. And Mr. President, it's been an honor to be part of it for the past 100 days.
Mr. President, the last 4 years, the world experienced a total lack of zero leadership under Biden, and then we had 100 days of your leadership with respect, with strength.
Stuff. No.
What didn't you like about that?
What I don't like about this is a trend that we've seen with world leaders even, where they're so scared of what Trump might do because of the way he's weaponizing all branches of government and threatening his enemies, that they're lavishing praise on him and kowtowing to him instead of having a cabinet meeting where they actually get grips with some real issues.
I have to say that I did actually watch that.
Yeah,
I did actually think it was a little bit cringy. They went around the table giving their praise.
But can I just...
It's like North Korean state media.
I think you can all go around the table giving me a little bit of
Can I just...
the nicest thing you have to say about me? I didn't realise you didn't know.
Can I just make a point, though? I'd rather that than, the cabinet, the vice president, the secretaries and all the rest of it, covering up a president's mental incapability of being president. Don't get me wrong. Trump's cringy.
Liz Truss was your Tory prime minister.
Well, don't get me wrong. That's when I'd lost hope.
Pretty quickly, didn't they?
Yeah.
And this is the difference, right?
You've got Keir Starmer.
Regicidal craziness in the Conservative Party. We constantly have to have a new leader because one has got a slightly dipped in the polls. I mean, this is the craziness. At least in America, they have strong presidents. They last a full term. I mean, even if they shouldn't, like Joe Biden, should have definitely gone way before his time. But there we go. That's how it is, isn't it?
You should take a leaf out of their book with Keir Starmer, 5 great years.
Yeah.
For whom?
I'm not surprised because they all go around praising Keir Starmer's leadership. This is exactly what British politicians are like as well. Let's not pretend. The Americans are just a little bit more bombastic about it. Sure. I'll read some of your comments out here. Lando says, the Beaver fart. I choked on my ice lolly. So funny.
It's good that Lando took some time out of his post-qualification nap, actually, in Miami. Yeah. Sorry, that's a Formula One reference. I think the viewers at home will get it, but I think most of the panel, except for Renee, won't.
We'll get it.
Ali says, Andrea Jenkins was so patient. Well done to her for putting up with the presenter in the first place. I agree. It's quite a lot when you have to... you're talking to a politician. Like, you should just have some respect.
Especially when, actually, in her new position, and what we forget, because mayoralty is a fairly new construct within UK politics, she is representing 1.1 million Brits. So actually...
And she has a £24 million budget.
Exactly.
She has real power and real influence, and that is what the media chose to ask her about. I'm sorry, it's pathetic.
It is
absolutely pathetic.
Right, well, we've come to the end of Saturday 5 Extra. It's been another fantastic show. What fun it has been this evening, hasn't it? Thank you, Will, Renee, Peter and Kai. Nice to have you back, Kai. And obviously, thank you all for sending all your comments in. And the guys, we've been loving reading your comments today. They've been coming through every minute. I've got so many here I couldn't even read them out to you. But thank you to everyone at home. We have, of course, got up next the fantastic Ben Leo on Ben Leo tonight. He's very brown because we've been sending him out and some of the best gigs in the company. Ben, how have you been doing? Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. I'm back in the studio. Good evening to you. Big show coming up, including the outrage over Lucy Powell and those comments today on grooming gangs. Calls for her to be sacked now, even. And really, it's not a good look, is it, after that thumping electoral loss? Talking of that election bombshell from Reform UK, Zia Youssef, the party chairman, will be live with me in the studio to dissect all of it and tell me the plans for the future. And also, have you seen that new BBC documentary from Louis Theroux, The Settlers, on Israeli West Bank settlers? There's a massive storm brewing over that. See you in a tick just after the weather.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. High pressure in charge, turning quite chilly tonight. The winds are switching direction to a northerly airstream, so filtering cold air all the way down from the Arctic across the country. You can see that in the pressure pattern, but with high pressure largely nearby, many places will be dry. And it's a dry evening and night to come across much of the country, though that northerly breeze does bring showers across northeast Scotland, down the eastern coast of England through the night. tonight. Elsewhere, dry with clear spells, and it'll turn quite chilly, a much widely chilly night compared to of late. Temperatures in single figures, a touch of frost for the glens of Scotland, perhaps the countryside of Northern Ireland as well. But a sunny start here away from the east coast, whilst it will be quite chilly and cloudy here with showers. So if we take a look at the details first thing Sunday morning, frequent showers across Orkney and Shetland down into eastern Scotland. Showers falling as snow over the higher ground. Sunny for western Scotland, largely dry with sunny spells for Northern Ireland, Northern England too, but the east seeing those showers which continue to feed down towards East Anglia. But the vast majority of us, it will be a dry start with sunny spells, so rather fresh. And then through the day, showers continue down the eastern side of the UK, but they will become fewer and further between as we move through into the afternoon. But a chilly northerly breeze here. Temperatures really struggling 8 to 9 Celsius at best in one or two spots. Best of the sunshine in the west and southwest, where highs will reach around 17 degrees, so much lower compared to what we've seen of late. Another chilly start on Monday morning, some patchy frost in places. Showers a little bit more confined to the southeast through the afternoon on Bank Holiday Monday. Most places dry with sunny spells, best of the sunshine across Scotland, and temperatures again near average. But there are signs it does start to warm up later next week. See you again soon.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
You could be the next big winner on the road in this brand new Alnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. Imagine the fun you could have in this luxurious home from home worth over £67,000. We'll also give you £5,000 in tax-free cash to make your next getaway a great one. And it could be all yours.